The seventh plague of hail God brought upon Egypt through Moses was a focal point I think most of us who are familiar with the story miss. When God announced this plague, he explained why he had chosen to bring 10 plagues, and then we see something amazing. With the seventh plague of hail, we see a microcosm of God offering his grace to sinful men. Most of us have heard about the 10 plagues. These plagues devastated the land of Egypt and the most powerful people on the earth at that time. They showed God's power over all the Egyptians' gods, as well as demonstrating God's sovereignty as the one true God. The plagues were all planned out by God for a purpose, and they worked in unity to achieve two goals for God. The first goal was to free the Israelites from bondage, and the second goal was to spread God's glory throughout the world. God told Pharaoh that he easily could have achieved the first goal with one act of his mighty hand. But he brought all 10 plagues upon this powerful nation so his name could be proclaimed over all the earth. For by now I could have put out my hand and struck you and your people with pestilence, and you would have been cut off from the earth. But for this purpose I have raised you up to show you my power, so that my name may be proclaimed in all the earth. And that is exactly what happened. Decades later, when the Israelites invaded the land of Canaan, a local woman told the Israeli spies, "I know that the Lord has given you this land, and that the fear of you has fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land melt away before you." But it is when Moses announced the plague of hail that we see God's grace offered to the Egyptians. Even in the light of tremendous devastation, God was raining down upon the nation. Up until now, the land of Egypt was filled with Egyptians who did not fear God. Among them was Pharaoh. But God changed this with the coming of the seventh plague. In this plague, Moses tells the Egyptians exactly what is going to happen and gives each Egyptian the chance to avoid the devastation that is about to come. Notice the grace and warning Moses extends to his enemy. Now therefore send, get your livestock and all that you have in the field into safe shelter. For every man and beast that is in the field and is not brought home will die when the hail falls upon them. Apparently, the previous 6 plagues had an effect on many of the Egyptians. Not all, but many. Many Egyptians began to fear the God of the Israelites because of the plagues, but others remained defiant and showed no respect for the one true God. Those who heeded Moses' warnings when the hail came were spared and given grace from God. Those who despised the word of God were given judgment through the plague of hail. Then, whoever feared the word of the Lord among the servants of Pharaoh hurried his slaves and his livestock into the house. But whoever did not pay attention to the word of the Lord left his slaves and his livestock in the field. This was a turning point for the Egyptians. After the 7th plague, the people who did not fear the Lord were killed. Those who were left had a healthy respect for the God of Israel. All but Pharaoh. That explains why some people were more vocal in trying to persuade Pharaoh to heed Moses as the remaining 3 plagues came. Then Pharaoh's servant said to him, "How long shall this man be a snare to us? Let the men go, that they may serve the Lord their God. Do you not yet understand that Egypt is ruined?" This is also why the people were eager to give the Israelites gold, silver, and clothing when asked as they left Egypt. The people of Israel had also done as Moses told them, for they had asked the Egyptians for silver and gold jewelry and for clothing. And the Lord had given the people favor in the sights of the Egyptians, so that they let them have what they asked. Thus, they plundered the Egyptians. The seventh plague of hell stands as a wonderful example not only of God's might and power, but of His mercy and grace. The seventh plague is a reminder that God's ways are higher than man's ways, and that we can always put our full trust in Him. And the seventh plague reminds us that even when God is bringing judgment upon sinful man, He gives us every opportunity to avoid judgment by repenting and turning to Him. The plague of hell is a reminder of God's mighty strength, as well as His loving kindness to all men, including you and me, if we but turn to Him with our whole heart.